like skin uncovered, and then you feel that kind of cold wind, or that the colder wind, that your body reacts, and then even though you have layers on, you almost feel that chill run through your whole body. And so that is actually quite surprising to notice that. Even though I had very kind of heavy layers, I had my shirt, I had my vest, and then I had this kind of heavy jacket that I just bought from the store. And even with that, I could feel that kind of just chill run through my body. And it's interesting to see how even I was working in a garage today in a startup. If you have like skin uncovered, and then you feel that kind of cold wind, or that the colder wind, that your body reacts, and then even though you have layers on, you almost feel that chill run through your whole body. And so that is actually quite surprising to notice that. Even though I had very kind of heavy layers, I had my shirt, I had my vest, and then I had this kind of heavy jacket that I just bought from the store. And even with that, I could feel that kind of just chill run through my body. And it's interesting to see how even I was working in a garage today in a startup. I'm part of a startup, and we're working in the garage, and the garage. Wow, the temperature difference was definitely noticeable. Um, you could just. It's like you're inside of a house. However, the garage is kind of close to the outside, and there's not really a lot of insulation, and the temperature. Wow, I kept crossing my legs because I was trying to, I guess, conserve some sort of body heat. It was almost like unconsciously but consciously doing that, and I put on my jacket after a while, but I was sweating. Walking over there, I sweated quite a lot. And it's weird. It was like a cold sweat though, and it's like even though it could be like the temperature is fairly low, maybe in the 50s, I could still sweat, and it'd be like a cold sweat, which doesn't really make a lot of sense because usually you think it's hot outside, then you would sweat. But it's kind of a strange thing I noticed. And so I was in the garage, and basically I remember leaving the garage and walking out, and I felt like my body was shaking because it felt cold. Even though I didn't think that, it was just like my physiological reaction. And so I noticed myself, I was walking, but the more I walked, the more heat ran through my body, right? The legs started to wake up, even though I was sitting down for like at least 3 hours. And so I did notice the winds were blowing. Wow, I was in a coastal city here called Carlsbad, and right by, really very close to the coast. And so the winds were blowing, and even though the sun was shining, the winds, it felt like a morning. The winter mornings where you have that cold air coming in, and then usually it heats up towards the middle of the day. It takes a while. Even in California, Southern California, right? Sunny Southern California. We still have those colder winds coming in. And we also have temperatures where I've noticed the past couple of years, since I started paying attention, temperatures where it would be like mid 50s to upper 50s, and I'm like, that's crazy. I don't remember ever seeing that before, but I guess it's something I didn't notice. And then of course at nighttime we can get into the 30s, and sometimes I've seen it in the 20s, below freezing. I haven't seen anything like that this year, not yet, anyways. But maybe like usually 40, lower 40s. And so it's crazy how the temperature changes rapidly. But luckily, I got to wait for the bus, and I was sitting in the sun, and that felt pretty good. But even when the temperatures are lower, you can still get a sunburn, which is pretty crazy. But I guess there was really no clouds in the sky, which was awesome. I've been waiting for that. Not having the certain things in the sky that I try not to pay attention to. But it was really nice. I don't know if it's because of meditation. I was thinking, is that because does that allow me to, become more aware of my body sensations, like the temperature change, how I'm reacting to that. And so I noticed over the course of the day, like, okay, I walked over to the house, and I I was sweating and I was warm, and then I stayed in the garage, and then my body temperature cooled down and cooled down even too much, and then I put on a jacket, and then I walked over to the bus stop, and then the heat started to rise because I was in the sun, and then once the sun went down, then the temperature went down, and then I usually come back and my temperature is usually pretty high. I feel very warm, and it's really interesting to see that it's like a thermometer, your internal thermometer going up and down. But that's just a couple things I noticed and about today in terms of the temperature. I hope you guys have a great day. And this is Random Stuff with Alex Hughes signing off.